Make sure I'm on. The next witness is Joel Breidenbaugh. Mr. Breidenbaugh, if you would mind being sworn in.
Would you be okay, since Jesus said the words about swearing an oath, if I say my yes will be yes, my no will be no, I will tell everything truthful and not deceive?
I'll accept that, if everybody will. Yes.
We will
All
accept
right,
that.
thank you.
Mr. Breidenbaugh, tell the jury briefly who you are and what your role is.
Yes, so Joel Breidenbaugh, I currently serve as the Executive Director of Missions for the Greater Orlando Baptist Association. I've just been in that position 4 months now. For 29 years, I served as a pastor and pastor of a few different churches. Yeah.
Okay, and did you have a role in the Florida Baptist Pastors, excuse me, the Florida Baptist Pastors Conference?
Yes, in 2015, I asked my friend Jimmy Scroggins. I'd been his parents' pastor a total of 13 years, and asked him to nominate me for the pastors' conference for the following year, and he did, and I won that election, and so I served as the 2016 Florida Baptist Pastors Conference.
And what is the Florida Baptist Pastors Conference?
It is a conference that precedes the annual meeting of the Florida Baptist Convention. It meets on a Sunday night and then Monday morning, Monday afternoon before the convention starts on Monday night and all day Tuesday. And we gather pastors in advance to encourage them through preaching, and I plan some breakout sessions as well with some speakers lined up. But it's a way to encourage and equip pastors over a couple of days.
So this is related to the Florida Baptist Convention, correct?
Correct, just before the Florida Baptist Convention starts meeting.
Separate from the Southern Baptist Convention's annual meeting every year.
Correct. The meeting takes place in November in the state of Florida. That year was in Clearwater, and yeah, completely separate from the National Convention, SBC.
But the organization that you were president of that year was not funded by the SBC or NAM, correct?
Not funded by SBC, not funded by NAM. We raised a little bit of support from outside our local church, but none of that was NAM money.
And am I correct that you invited Dr. McCraney to speak at the Florida Baptist Pastors Conference?
Yeah, he was one of 8 or 9 different breakout session speakers I had lined up for Monday morning.
And did you do most of the invitations, or was there a group that was involved?
I consulted with my first and second vice president, but I made decisions on who all was getting invited, and so I'm the one that reached out to secure all of those speakers.
And is that how that meeting is normally run?
That is exactly how that meeting is normally run.
Okay. Did anyone contact you about Dr. McCraney before that conference?
Before the conference, yes. So I had lined up I don't remember. I lined up most of them about 10 or 12 months in advance because I got elected 12 months ahead of time. And I immediately began reaching out to guys to make sure they would be available. I think it was in August. So the conference is in November. And I think it was August we made that public, who was going to be speaking, the dates and times, so people could put it on their calendar. And then after that became public, I got a phone call. And
who's that phone call from?
Yeah, so my friend Jimmy Scroggins, who had nominated me, had left me a voicemail first of all when I wasn't available, and it had shared on that voicemail that Kevin had contacted him. Kevin Azell had contacted him, was really upset that the guy that he would nominate would have Will McCraney speak at the conference. And so I did a follow-up phone call with Jimmy to see what all this was about. And he had shared with me that Kevin had heard the news and that Kevin was really irate that I would extend an invitation, that Jimmy's guy, the guy that he recommended, would sort of be friends with Will McCraney enough to invite him, and was encouraging me to uninvite him. Kevin says he needs to be uninvited. Will you uninvite him? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And he says, well, he's afraid that Will's going to speak out against Kevin or against NAM, and he just doesn't want that done. I said, he's not going to do that. I said, that's not what I've asked him to do. He's going to talk about strategies as a church and the systems of a church. And so he kept pressuring. I said, I'm not going to uninvite him. And Jimmy's a friend of mine, but I just wasn't going to do that because Will's also been a friend of mine. And so then Jimmy sort of wrapped up the conversation with, well, Joel, can you just verify for me? Can you just let him know? Just ask him, make sure he's not going to say anything about NAM or about Kevin. I said, okay, I'll do it. It's really not the point, but and it's not. I don't think it needs to be brought up, but I'll do it. So I reached out to Will that afternoon and had the conversation with him and said, hey, what have I talked to you about addressing? And he knew what I've talked to him about addressing. I said, are you going to say anything against Nam or Kevin? He's like, no, I'm not. And I said, okay, I need to make sure. And he's like, well, why are you even asking me this? Why do you have to make sure about that? And I said, well, I got a phone call. And then when he found out Kevin was behind it, he was frustrated because it sounded as though this wasn't the first time.
And so this was a conference, again, Dr. McCraney was already terminated from Baltimore, or from the Maryland-Delaware Convention, correct?
That's right, the year before.
And so he no longer had any obligations to that state convention or to the national convention, correct?
Not at all, yeah.
Mr. Scroggins, or Pastor Scroggins didn't ask you in any sense to make sure Mr. McCraney didn't violate some kind of contract, right?
No, not at all.
He just wanted to make sure that you wouldn't allow Mr. McCraney to speak negatively of NAM in any sense publicly.
Correct.
Was that kind of request usual or unusual to you?
It was highly unusual. In all my years in pastoral ministry of 30 years, I've never had someone try to get me to uninvite a special speaker. I've had some people say, no, you can't invite someone before I invited them, maybe because of their history with the church or something of that nature, but not to uninvite someone that had been invited.
And would it be unusual for Baptists to put limits on what a preacher can say in their sermon to other pastors?
Not at all.
Yeah. What does it tell you about NAM's level of interest in making sure the McCraney story about NAM did not get out, that they would reach out to you and do this?
Yeah. Well, I was flabbergasted that Kevin would be so determined to keep Will from getting any opportunities to speak and make a little money. I mean, we weren't paying him much. I don't remember, $500, $750, whatever he got paid to speak at a couple of sessions for us. And that someone, a previous, and not even employer, but someone that had interfered in his employment would continue to try to do something like that. That was shocking to me. A short time later, an SBC, Baptist Press article came out, and a NAM representative said, we know there's charges that Kevin and others have been calling to interfere, and he says, I can assure you none of those calls have happened. And I'm like, well, that's a lie in print because they haven't asked the right people.
Dr. Breidenbaugh, is there anything else you would tell the jury about that experience that you think they should know?
No, just I didn't uninvite him. Will came and did a great job. None of that kind of stuff was ever brought up as far as NAM or Kevin Ezell, and Will did a fine job, and the conference pulled off just fine. But yeah, it was shocking that I would even have to go through that experience. And
even at the level of a $500 honorarium.
Correct.
That was the level of activity they didn't want to see Will McCraney involved in.
Yeah, it's like anywhere he was going to speak, they didn't want him to speak.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor. No further questions.
All right, you're welcome.